I know it started a month ago, but honestly, this whole Nike Kaepernick thing may actually be getting more interesting, because I was just going to chime in and have the debate and troll around a little bit, but Nike's pulled the ad off of YouTube. So this is going to kind of get very interesting. Basically, some discussions were going on. There was the atypical, first off, the whole boycotting and the burning Nike stuff. It's, I agree with the logic. They've already got your money. Burn it, so you go buy more. They don't care. We can set all the realities aside of everything. At the end of this video, I will attach the commercial for commentary purposes. You know what I'm talking about. The commercial is actually a good commercial. It's an inspiring message. It's all the things, but by dragging Kaepernick into this, it has just, it's loaded on all sides. And honestly, this really is a mirror for a debate that's going on in the United States right now. Basically, there were a few threads that were asking, why is this controversial? Who is this guy? Why do people care about this so much? So on and so forth. I went ahead and chimed in on more than one of those, and I basically explained that, well, the real issue is the reason you are asked to stand and show respect for the national anthem at U.S. sporting events isn't about nationalism, isn't about blind patriotism, it isn't about pretending this is the greatest nation in the world or any of the crap that liberals are claiming that dogma's about. The etiquette there is that you are showing respect, not just for the armed forces, but for basically every man, woman, child, and non-binary, regardless of race, gender, and sexual orientation, that ever served or helped push this country to be what it is today. So we get bogged down in the weeds of, well, maybe I don't think that way about soldiers, or maybe I don't feel that way about slave owners that wrote the anthem, and blah, blah, blah. Here's the problem. In that act of standing, you are also showing respect for Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Stanton, Lucy Stone, countless, nameless, forgotten people who we will never know the names of, who contributed so much to our society. This includes the soldiers that fought in the wars, the emergency people who saved lives, the doctors, the nurses, the countless people that were involved in and gave birth to and saw the civil rights movement through, the people who brought woman's lib and put an end to women's suffrage. Going forward, this would include all the people who brought about gay rights and these equalities that are so desperately needed, that make this a nation which stands for liberty and justice for all. So, and I gave the caveat in my explanation of this, because basically somebody chimed in and they got on this whole debate, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, it's you're reading hate into things, and then blah 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 blah. And basically I have to paraphrase, because in the middle of trying to respond to these things, basically I found out Nike's taken the video down. So all the comments are gone. Basically, what was still on my computer screen is archived. What's in my email and the direct threads I were in is archived. And I'm going to respond to a direct question and argument, because it really does paraphrase this. But I was saying, basically my stance on this point is, I will defend to my death Kaepernick's right to protest, to voice his opinion, to do anything he wants. I don't agree with it. And this is in the hard time. But basically, I don't, because his chosen action of protest is intertwined and permanently commingled with disrespecting all of these people, including, the civil rights movement and women's suffrage and the gay rights movement and just everything, because that act of standing is to also show honor and respect for all of these. It's kind of the equivalent of protesting a moment of silence at a funeral. I mean, you have the right to it. You have a First Amendment right to go do that, to be that asshole. I'll defend your right to have that, to my dying breath. But it's in very bad taste. It's very disrespectful, and quite frankly, it's indirectly protesting the very ideology you claim to be protesting for. So that doesn't really make any sense. They don't jive. This is the person's comment. But the question I didn't get to answer, so I'm going to answer it here in a video. Basically, they said, your comment is commendable for acknowledging that people have the right to protest about causes they happen to believe in. You say that your only problem with Kaepernick is that he chose to do it during the anthem, which you say is like protesting during a funeral and disrespecting those who died. I can understand that feeling 100%. Can you also admit that some black men have died, perhaps some innocent unarmed men, some that were running away, lives taken by bad cops or scared cops, who sometimes got paid vacations as a result of the killings? If you can admit that, then here's a thought. If kneeling during the anthem is insulting / disrespectful to dead soldiers, isn't standing during an anthem insulting / disrespectful to dead black men? Because if you stand, you are in a way saying this country is great and wonderful and okay and fine and perfect. I'm okay with occasional injustice, and heck, with a few dead black guys, let's stand and honor and celebrate America. Okay? One, that's circular logic. Two, that's very racist. Okay? Because really, the other problem we'll get into with the whole thing and everything that Kaepernick was protesting to say is, okay, will I accept, it's like that lives have been taken by bad cops or scared cops, and have there been unjust events? Yes. People of every race, ethnicity, and gender have been, quite frankly, executed by bad cops doing bad things, and they give good cops a very bad name. That's not fair. But what I've never been able to get my head around in all of this is why this is a black problem. Because it's a society problem. It's also a problem for the police, because bad actors are giving the whole of police a bad reputation. This is a problem that affects everybody. And the way that it has devolved into, quite frankly, bigotry and racism and prejudice to turn the people of the United States on one another based on racial lines, where we have dual standards of justice, where we automatically assume something is racist when it's not, and all of these that is not a good thing. I was pointing out earlier, the act of standing, if you believe these are victims, would actually be honoring those people. So by taking a knee, as it were, you're actually disrespecting the very people you're supposedly trying to draw attention to. Because if they really are victims, as is outlined in this comment, then the act of standing would be an act of acknowledging them and showing respect for them, because it would include those victims. That is what you're standing for. That is the etiquette. That is the symbology. You are saying the fallen are honored in this moment. So that would have included all these victims that supposedly were taking a knee to support. So, no, standing for the anthem is not saying that's okay. I can give a perfect analogy. It's something I do regularly. I'm a pagan. under God genuinely refers to the Abrahamic God. Now, not always, but generally. And most people, when they say one nation under God, as the U.S. national motto, are basically assuming, Judeo-Christendom, which is not my religion. When I stand up in a court of law, and I get sworn in, I don't say, "So help me God." I say, "I swear to tell the truth for the sake of the truth." I haven't been held in contempt by a judge yet, but if they ever do, I will challenge it all the way to the Supreme Court. Pledge of Allegiance. I don't knee out of saying the Pledge of Allegiance because I believe in the ideal of liberty and justice for all. A nation indivisible with liberty and justice for all. So I stand, I show respect, take off my hat, take off my shades, and I say every other word but the under God. And return to the original verse before we added that whole stuff in. I do not have to disrespect every other ideal, everything else it stands for, and protest all of those things to do that protest. And that's the bit that's really missed on the whole Kaepernick. And it really a parallel of the whole left-right divide in the United States right now. A certain segment of the far left, of the SJW, of everything else, really, if you take apart all of their message, and the whole, well, what about the Black Lives and everything and so forth, their message is, America sucks, America is the worst nation in the history of the universe, and honoring it in any way, shape, or form is the lowest act that anyone can possibly do. It's basically saying that we as Americans, as citizens of the United States of America, should be rooting against our home team and wanting America as a nation to fail herself and her people. Moderates on the left, centralists, and even the extreme version of it in the mangas on the right have a different message. The variations are, this was, is, or can be a great nation. The vast majority of them define a great nation as a place with liberty and justice for all, where we honor our history, but progress to have a better future. There are times when things are being honored wrong, and there are times when it is important to know the truth of these things. And the disagreement is on where these finer points are. But that's the real issue with what Kaepernick did. Because he has the First Amendment right to do it, and I'm not sure I agree with him being blacklisted. And I'm not even sure I have a problem with Nike choosing to use him, but really the voice about, be the dreamer and go against the grain. We'll play it. We'll play in a minute here. Does it really match his action? And, you don't have to be a far-right rhino to go, you know what, I care, but why did you have to piss on all those graves? Why did you have to dishonor all those people that are just too countless to name? And remember, this is the civil rights leaders, women's suffrage. Why? Why do you have to attack all those people? Why was that the way to protest this and do this? And honestly, it's an act of division because now we're further apart. Because now we literally have the segment rooting for the United States to fail. Do I think these are problems? Absolutely. Are they problems I want to address? Absolutely. Am I rooting for the United States to fail, to be the worst place ever, and to just say I hate the United States? No! And that's in part now the politics that Nike has dragged into, but it really has nothing to do with Nike, and it has nothing to do with this ad, and it has everything to do with Kaepernick's actions. These dual standards are ridiculous.
If people say your dreams are crazy, if they laugh at what you think you can do, good. Stay that way. Because what non-believers fail to understand is that calling a dream crazy is not an insult. It's a compliment. Don't try to be the fastest runner in your school or the fastest in the world. Be the fastest ever. Don't picture yourself wearing OBJ's jersey. Picture OBJ wearing yours. Don't settle for homecoming queen or linebacker. Do both. Lose 120 pounds and become an Ironman after beating a brain tumor. Don't believe you have to be like anybody to be somebody. If you're born a refugee, don't let it stop you from playing soccer for the national team at age 16. Don't become the best basketball player on the planet. Be bigger than basketball. Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. When they talk about the greatest team in the history of the sport, make sure it's your team. If you have only one hand, don't just watch football. Play it at the highest level. And if you're a girl from Compton, don't just become a tennis player. Become the greatest athlete ever. Yeah, that's more like it. So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
Hi everyone, you made it to the end of the video. Congratulations! Almost no one does. At least that's what the analytics say here on YouTube. Since you made it this far, you might want to consider going one more click and expanding that description down there and go ahead and clicking over to Patreon and become a patron and contributor. If not, you'll also find it over in the channel page, but hey, regardless, there's this like-dislike thing, so by all means, downvote if you think I should shut up, or upvote if you'd like to hear more. And if you really feel inclined to do, at least you can do is subscribe. But hey, it's up to you.